about the grit and the resiliency that you need, not only to survive, but thrive. Being told no over and over again can sometimes cause self-doubt. And I think the message that I'd like to hopefully get across is that
This is Albert Bramante, veteran talent agent, author, and mentor with over 20 years in the entertainment industry. Founder of Bramante Artists, he guides actors to success in film, TV, theater, combining his expertise in psychology and performance to help them overcome challenges.
to reframe rejection as less personal, because when you hear the word rejection, that kind of means very personal action, and it's not. If you reframe it as use the no as a gentle reminder. So that's one of the things that would really love to get across, is that there's no such thing as rejection.
What's up, everybody? This is Ryan Van Ornum, and we are back for another Scaling Up Success podcast powered by Cynergists. Today, I have Albert Bramante. Albert, how are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing excellent. Thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure to have you on. Actually, it's Dr. Bramante, correct?
That's correct. I do have a doctorate in psychology.
Man,
Mhm.
man, that takes a lot right there, let alone, what you got going on. So tell me a little bit about what you got going on with Bramante Artists.
Sure. Well, I've been a talent agent for about 21 years. I represent actors full time for theater, film, TV, commercial, print, voiceover. And Bramante Artists was founded in January 1st, 2024, so a relatively new entity. But I've been an agent. I've had my own different companies for the past 20, 21 years. So my day to day is representing actors for film, TV, theater, commercial, print, and voiceover.
Man, there's a lot that goes into it. Like you've been in that business for so long, but like, tell us, what does it take to be an agent for, in that industry? I mean, people come in and out of that industry a lot. Would you agree?
Absolutely. There's a high turnover rate, unfortunately, in this industry. Why it's a really exciting industry, but it's also extremely competitive,
Hmm.
and probably one of the most competitive industries out there in the world today. And it can also be, in a sense, hard and challenging, and for some actors have even said it to be soul crushing to some degree because all the no's. The reality of an actor or performer is that you're going to get more no's than you are going to get yeses. No matter how talented, no matter how gifted of a performer you are, that's the reality of the business.
That's so critical, like with dealing with rejection is something that you're probably having to coach a lot of your clients about, which is that something that just some people just aren't used to and maybe can't even function after a certain amount of time? Or is it like it's more just the resiliency side of it, right? Of like going to audition after audition after audition, and then like, yeah, I got my big break, like tell us more about that.
Sure, that's exactly what is needed as an actor is resiliency. And I think my wish is that this is more in acting training programs taught more about the grit and the resiliency that you need to, kind of not only just survive but thrive in the industry. So, being told no over and over again can sometimes be, cause self-doubt. And I think the message that I'd like to hopefully get across is that to reframe rejection as less personal, because when you hear the word rejection, that kind of means very personal action, and it's not. This
Right.
business is really not personal. And if you reframe it as, use the no as a gentle reminder of that your services are not needed today, rather than a no being automatically altogether. So that's one of the things I, would really love to get across, is that there's no such thing as rejection.
And you're
You
always
know,
learning from those things too, because like whether you're like you go into an audition and you may not get that role, but man, you came so close. I don't that may not be it may be hard to swallow the first couple times, but man, you're learning every single time. Would you agree?
absolutely. And if you look at there's no such thing as failure, only feedback. So if you take the no's as opportunities to as a stepping stone, you can learn so much from that, and then therefore get much better auditions in the future. And a lot of working actors that are successful adopt the mindset when you're auditioning, look at it as an opportunity to perform and an opportunity to show that your ability to perform rather than looking at it as an object failure, so, or a task. So when you have that audition, you have 2 minutes to perform, and performing is what actors truly love to do. So look at it not as a judgment, but like, I get 2 minutes to perform and do what
Right.
I love.
Yeah, and man, that there's so many nuances to that too. Like there's people that can probably take it as like, man, I only got 2 minutes to show what I got. I got to try to over practice and try to over deliver. When probably the most successful are the people that are comfortable within their own skin during those 2 minutes, right?
Absolutely, and it's not about proving yourself because you've already proved yourself. You went through the training and you're already here. So it's not about proving yourself. It's about having fun and being in the moment. Yeah, still preparing and before the audition is important, but also at the same time just taking it as a opportunity to perform. And as soon as the opportunity is over, let it go. It's
Right.
over.
Yeah.
As soon as the audition is over, it's time to move on, and it's time to focus on your next opportunity to audition
Well,
or perform.
tell me a little bit about that because like you said you've been in the game for like almost 2 decades now. So tell us a little bit of like how that industry has kind of changed. Do you see like that there's been different pieces of it? I mean, I'm my guess is like that the Me Too movement has changed a lot of that piece of it. Would you agree?
Yes, I mean, I would definitely say Me Too has made people more aware. And when I have conversations about harassment or inappropriate behavior, I also want to mention that it's for both genders. It's not just geared towards females. Although,
Tell me more about
uh,
that.
well, there's exploitation, and not just exploitation on a physical or sexual or violation. It's also exploitation of your talent, money, time. So, and that's with both genders too.
Interesting.
I've heard a lot of male actors being harassed, on set and on stage over the years from either other male or even female, violators in a sense.
Wow.
So it's a thing, unfortunately, an equal opportunity. So the Me Too was definitely 2016, 2017 when like the whole Bill Cosby and Harvey Weinstein cases broke. Then another thing that really changed the industry was the pandemic, COVID.
Oh, okay.
For a
Go
while,
into that.
for
Tell
a
me more.
while, for a while, we were shut down. Not for a long time, but on the film and TV side, it was shut. Production was shut down for like a good 5 or 6 months.
Hmm.
Until they started getting more medical advances and testing situations set up. Live theater was shut down the longest for almost 2 years.
Wow.
you know. So if you were a theater actor, producer, stagehand, stage manager, worked in a box office, it was a really hard 2 years because the business was thriving. So you had to pivot. And then another obstacle we had in our industries in 2023, the Writers Guild and the Screen Actors Guild both went on strike within 2 months of one another, and it was a good 6 months where they were both on strike at the same time. So so if you were a screen actor, a writer, you had almost no career in film and
Wow.
TV for months. And then so the industry had recovered, but not quite yet. And we're still at a point where where some experts are calling it like our version of a recession or a Great Depression in the film and
Okay.
TV industry because of what's been going on. And that's why you've been seeing a lot in the news about tax incentives and more funding and more tax breaks for productions because a lot of productions were moving overseas. A lot of productions were moving outside. So as a local actor in New York, LA, or Atlanta, it it's now a little bit of a tougher experience now because less productions that were happening. But my goal is that I'm hoping that we come back to that. We
Right,
come
right,
back to resurgence. So there's been a multiple challenges in addition to it just being a challenging field to begin
right.
with.
Do you feel like the increase in streaming options has changed the way that actors have looked upon like their gigs?
Absolutely, both in a positive and sometimes a negative way. So the positive sign is that the amount of productions, the amount of opportunities has, multiplied by four, by five times, especially when Netflix and Hulu and Amazon and Apple and YouTube all got into the content creation game. So, when I first started, as a New York agent, we had very few TV shows. We had the soaps, the Law and Order, the Sopranos. We didn't have a whole lot in New York.
Yeah.
So it was, if you wanted to be a film and TV actor, LA was the place to be. If you
Okay.
want to be a theater actor, New York was the place to be. So that's changed. I'd say in the past 10 to 12 years that, we jumped from like, at one point, it was like we were going between 70 to 80 shows a year were being produced out of New York. So as an actor, that's a gold mine.
Right.
Now, the downside is the payment and residuals has decreased because there's so much now space and so much competition. So the amount of payment that you would receive, being whether it's a day player or a guest star or one off, or even as a series regular, which means you're in every TV episode, has decreased. So it's challenging because I worked with people who've been series regulars on shows, and you would think, well, that they must have a lot of money, and that's not always the case. I know people that are series regular that still need survival jobs, to
Wow.
pay for. So that's where it's the downside is. So there's advantages and disadvantages of that.
That's kind of crazy that there's so much difference in the way that the industry has changed now. Like that, that you have, like you said, these series regulars that are, still, having to have other types of employment, maybe even just to get by. That's kind of crazy.
It is. Well, you also have that plus the rising just living cost of
Hmm.
living too. So, you add a combination of that. And also the lifestyle of it, the life cycle of a series regular can change. Because initially when you're hired as a series regular for a show, you sign a 6 year or 7 year deal.
Oh, okay.
And now, which that sounds great and it's helpful, but the show can get canceled.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
And that means there goes the contract. Like in 2022, I had hired we got somebody on the series regular for an Apple TV show, which was really exciting. And the contract was great. It was lucrative, much more than this actress had ever made. But the show only lasted one season and it was canceled. And that's not in my control or the actors. That's outside of the actor's control.
Sure.
And that can be sometimes hard too. So you can be 1 minute working as series regular and then a year later be unemployed, and
Yep.
out of work after again.
Yeah. And really like the way that lifestyle is too, you have to keep up with the Joneses a lot of times, whether it's like, that they're keeping their acting chops up. They're doing, probably having to hire like physical trainers and staying active in peak shape, because, the the body composition for people, on screen and stuff like that, it matters for a lot of those roles. Is that, like there's a lot more that goes into it. The cuisine that people eat, the food that people eat, like it's so much different than, just somebody just, that is just trying to get by working for themselves. You have to keep your body in tip top shape.
Yeah. Your body and your mind in tip top shape too,
Mhm.
and that's both of those places need workout, regular workouts and regular.
No, that's the thing, that there's so much that goes into it that people don't know, that they're spending a lot of money on that kind of stuff. Like acting coaches don't come cheap. Talent, like and helping you helping them find new roles and new gigs, like go into that, there's probably you have to be connected, across the country and the world to, so many of these opportunities that your actors are finding, right?
Yeah, I mean, having those connections are important, and they took me sometimes years to cultivate myself. These connections and these with casting directors and producers. So because they need to, it's all about trust. So they need to be able to trust that I can deliver, and they need to trust in my ability to find talent. And that takes a while because it's a building credibility. And the same thing as an actor. So what I often say in that respect is that as an actor, if you want to work in a major market, New York, LA, Atlanta, or any major hub, you need to have a not just a 5 year plan, but a 10 or 20 year plan.
Wow.
This is not a marathon. This is not a sprint. It is a long journey, not a sprint. And very rarely is there ever a concept of overnight success. Like just a quick big. I mean, that sometimes rarely can happen, but very often you don't see the behind the scenes aspect of it. May hear, well, they just were discovered out of nowhere, but you didn't hear the fact that they've been working 10, 15 years behind the scenes grinding.
Right. Tell me more about what it takes to build up like those connections in your business, because like, I mean, that's the trust factor that people are hiring you, right? And you've been in that industry for so long. You have those connections. So tell me what it takes to get to a point where, people want to be a part of your agency.
It's trust, consistency. So consistency is knowing that I'm not going to give up too easily and I'm not going to just open and close right away. So, it's all consistent over time. And there's also a concept known as social proof, which means, showcasing that my actors are booking, that I'm able to make successful placements. And that is by persistence. So that's why it's important for consistent marketing in any field, especially for actors. And there's the importance of consistency.
I love that, man. I love that. And as being you that entire time, you've grown inside of that and you have those connections that you've built in that industry that sets you apart from anybody else. So that's key right there. So what's next for the evolution of your business? Where do you see it going? Like, I know you're in New York, but are you making connections across the country
Yeah, making connections across the country, LA, Atlanta, and
how big's,
Chicago, where there's
how big's that Atlanta and the Chicago areas for film and stuff now?
Chicago is big for theater, and there are a couple of TV shows that film in Chicago. You obviously have Chicago Med, Chicago Fire, Chicago PD, and
Yeah.
other, TV shows like the Chai, Showtime. You also have, Atlanta, which is like Tyler Perry, Oprah Winfrey, all those networks and studios, BET studios. A lot of Hallmark movies are made down, in the southeast of, Atlanta, New
Yeah.
Orleans. So those are thriving. It used to be, like I said, New York, LA, mainly LA, but LA's been struggling in the past, few years. And that's why they just passed more tax incentives to bring back more production than LA because LA's been suffering.
Right, right. No, and it is crazy because that was the mecca for like 30, 40 years. And,
Mhm.
whether it's the political scene, the socioeconomic scene, even the wildfires, there's so many things that have changed the dynamics out in
Yeah.
SoCal. So, man, this has been, a really great insight into that career genre that a lot of people probably didn't even know, these things are happening. So, thank you so much for sharing your story, and we really appreciate you coming on, man. How can people get a hold of you if they want to get involved into the acting scene?
So you can follow us on Instagram, Bramante Artists. We're right, on Instagram. You can go to BramanteArtists.com if you're an actor and want to submit for representation. There's a form you can fill out. You can also follow my personal, Dr. Al Bramante on Instagram. I'm also under LinkedIn under Albert Bramante. So I feel free to reach out to me on all those platforms. I'd love to communicate
Fantastic.
more.
Fantastic. Dr. Bramante, it's been a pleasure having you on. Thank you so much for your time today. Really appreciate it. Go check them out, Bramante Artists. This is Ryan Van Ornum with Scaling Up Success podcast, powered by Cynergists. Thank you guys and have a wonderful day.
Thank you.